Good morning class. With continuation of the yesterday's class, that is biotransformation, xenobiotics, biotransformation and detoxification of xenobiotics. In the previous class, we have seen what is the definition of all these things and what are the types of xenobiotics and how these xenobiotics are metabolized in our body. And liver is a major substance that will be detoxifying, that will be helping in detoxifying, and it does in two phases. We have already covered the phase 1 that includes oxidation, reduction and hydrolysis. Now we'll move on to the phase 2, that is conjugation. A xenobiotic that has undergone a phase 1 reaction is now new metabolite that contains a reactive chemical like hydroxy group, amino group or carboxylic group. So though the xenobiotic has passed through phase 1, it is not yet completely intoxic. It has got its toxic property. But what is happening in the process of conversion, new reactive groups are being added to that xenobiotic. So now the purpose of phase 2 is to nullify these reactive groups by conjugating them with some other substances. These metabolites undergo biotransformation with conjugating agents. These metabolites undergo biotransformation with conjugation by conjugating agents. So what are the various conjugating agents? Glucuronic acid. Glucuronic acid is a product that is formed by oxidation of glucose. Glycine, it is an amino acid. Cysteine, it is a sulfur containing amino acid. Acetic acid, sulfates, glutamine, methyl groups and thiosulfates. So all these are the conjugating agents that help in conjugation process. Now these conjugating agents, they can directly involve in conjugation process, or they will get converted to their active form and then go into the conjugation reactions. The active forms of conjugating agents. So these conjugating agents will get converted to active form to enter into the reaction. Glucuronic acid's active form is UDP glucuronic acid. Sulfates, it forms an phosphoamine, it forms from PABs, that is phosphoadenosine phosphosulfate. So sulfate's active form is phosphoadenosine phosphosulfate. Cysteine, its active form is glutathione. Acetic acid, its active form is acetyl-CoA. Now we'll see the conjugation with glucuronic acid. Glucuronide conjugation is the most common of phase 2 reactions. Glucuronic acid conjugates with hydroxy groups of both phenolic and alcoholic group, that is aliphatic and aromatic hydrocarbons, carbonyl groups, sulfhydryl groups and amino groups. So it conjugates with OH group, C double bond O group, SH group and NH group. So these groups are conjugated by glucuronic acid. The glucuronic acid is added to xenobiotic by an enzyme called UDP glucuronyl transferase that is present in the endoplasmic reticulum. The reaction goes like this. This is a xenobiotic that has got any of those compounds that I have already mentioned, OH group or carbonyl group, amino group. So these will combine with UDP glucuronic acid in the presence of the enzyme UDP glucuronyl transferase to form R-glucuronide. So this is a xenobiotic that is conjugated with glucuronide. So this UDP is liberated like that. The best example for this type of conjugation is bilirubin, that is conjugated by glucuronide and is excreted as bilirubin diglucuronide. The barbiturates. So this enzyme UDP glucuronyl transferase is induced by a drug called as barbiturates. The presence of barbiturates will increase the activity of this enzyme. So that is why when in a person who have got jaundice, especially hemolytic jaundice, if barbiturates are given, they will induce this enzyme. As a result of that, there will be increased conjugation of bilirubin. Now this is how the conjugation of bilirubin occurs with glucuronic acid. The bilirubin first react with UDP glucuronic acid, forms bilirubin monoglucuronide. Then this will combine with one more molecule of UDP glucuronic acid in the presence of the enzyme UDP glucuronyl transferase to form bilirubin diglucuronide, and these are the ones that are excreted via the feces. Some of them will go into enterohepatic circulation. So the bilirubin that is insoluble in water is rendered soluble. Next, we'll see other than bilirubin, there are many compounds that are conjugated with glucuronic acid, such as phenol. Phenol forms a glucosidic bond, that is ether bond, and resulting in the formation of phenyl glucuronide. Benzoic acid forms a ester bond with glucuronic acid and forms glucuronic monobenzoate. Bilirubin will form an ester bond with propionic acid side chain, that is, the glucuronic acid forms an ester bond with propionic acid side chain and resulting in the formation of bilirubin glucuronides. Steroids. The glucuronic acid will form an ester bond with OH group of the steroids to form glucuronide of steroid. Amines. The glucuronic acid forms an amide group with amines to form N-glucuronides. So, the compounds that are conjugated by glucuronic acid are phenol, benzoic acid, bilirubin, steroids, and various amines. Next, we move to the second conjugating agents, that is sulfation. Due to its polarity, sulfates decrease the toxicity of xenobiotics. Highly polar sulfate conjugates are readily excreted through the urine. Sulfates being charged, they are highly polar, so they are easily excreted through urine. The active form of sulfate groups is PAX, that is phosphoadenosine 5-phosphosulfate. This phosphoadenosine 5-phosphosulfate is formed in cysteine metabolism. It is a derivative component of cysteine metabolism and that acts as a donor of a sulfate. Not only in conjugation process, in any way where sulfate has to be donated, it is donated mainly by PAX. The enzyme that catalyzes this conjugation reaction is sulfotransferase. The groups that are commonly conjugated are phenolic and alcoholic groups. Examples, steroids and indoles. The reaction can be generally represented like this. This is a OH containing xenobiotics, OH group containing xenobiotics, for which the sulfates are transferred in the presence of the enzyme sulfotransferase to form a sulfated compound. The phosphoadenosyl phosphate is removed as such. Now, when we look at the compounds, phenol forms phenyl sulfate, indole forms indoxyl sulfate. So, in this way, the sulfation helps in conjugation of phenol and indoles. Next, conjugation with glutathione. Cysteine. In glutathione, cysteine is the one that conjugates with the xenobiotics, but it enters into the reaction as glutathione. So cysteine is derived from glutathione, which is an active conjugating agent. What are the groups that are conjugated by glutathione? The alkyl groups, aryl halides, epoxides, alkenes are usually detoxified in this manner. Glutamate and glycine are removed first, then cysteine is acetylated and it retains the xenobiotic. The reaction goes like this. It occurs in different steps. In the first step is glutathione. The glutathione combines with the active group containing xenobiotic. In the presence of the enzyme glutathione transferase, the xenobiotic gets transferred to glutathione, forming the glutathione xenobiotic. The active group is removed. In the next step, the glutathione xenobiotic is accepted by an acceptor in the presence of enzyme GGT, that is gamma glutamyl transferase, to form cysteine glycine xenobiotics. So in this step, the glutamic acid comes out as gamma glutamyl acceptor. Now the xenobiotic is attached to cysteine glycine. Glutamic acid is gone. Now the cysteine glycine in the presence of an enzyme peptidase will form the xenobiotic and cysteine. Now this component has lost the glycine. So finally the xenobiotic is attached with the cysteine. As I have already mentioned, the glycine and the glutamic acid both will be removed and cysteine will remain with the xenobiotic. Now in the last step, the xenobiotic cysteine will take up the acetyl group in the presence of an enzyme N-acetyl transferase and forms mercapturic acid. So this is how the xenobiotic is made water soluble by using glutathione. So during the pop process, only cysteine holds the xenobiotic. The other parts of the glutathione like glutamic acid and glycine are removed. Next, we'll see conjugation with glycine. Glycine is a simple amino acid. The aromatic carboxylic acids are usually conjugated by glycine. Benzoic acid. The common acid is benzoic acid that is conjugated with glycine to form hippuric acid. This is how it occurs. The benzoic acid is present as benzoyl-CoA that will combine with glycine to form hippuric acid, and CoA is removed. So this is a hippuric acid that is made water soluble and is excreted in urine. The other components that are conjugated by glycine are phenyl acetic acid that will form phenyl aceturic acid. The most important is cholic acid. Cholic acid, it is a form from catabolism of cholesterol. The cholesterol is a steroid containing molecule, so it is lipophilic, it is not soluble. When it undergoes catabolism, the components that are formed from it are also lipophilic. Finally, it forms cholic acid. Now it is the responsibility of the liver to make cholic acid to a soluble form. So this cholic acid in the liver gets conjugated with the glycine to form glycocholic acid. Now next, the sodium and potassium salts will also get associated with that to form sodium glycocholate and potassium glycocholate in that way, and they enter into the bile. Next, conjugation with glutamine. The phenyl acetic acid, so the conjugation with glutamine occurs to a very lesser extent. Only one or two components do conjugate with glutamine, like phenyl acetic acid. It is conjugated with glutamine to form phenyl acetyl glutamine. This is how it occurs. So phenyl acetic acid will combine with glutamine to form phenyl acetyl glutamine. Next, conjugation with acetyl group. Conjugation with acetic acid takes place with drugs like sulfanylides, isoniazid, and para-amino salicylic acid. Sulfanylides are sulfanilamides. It is an antibiotic. Isoniazid and PAS are usually used. These two are also antibiotics. They are commonly used in anti-tubercular treatment. So these drugs are conjugated by acetyl group. Now, as I already mentioned, acetyl is donated or acetyl is conjugated when it turns into its active form, that is acetyl-CoA. So isoniazid will combine with acetyl-CoA in the presence of enzyme N-acetyl transferase to form acetylated isoniazid. Sulfanilamide will combine with acetyl-CoA to form acetyl sulfanylamide, and that is the one that is excreted. So in that way, isoniazid, sulfanilamides, and PAS, all the three are detoxified or conjugated by acetyl-CoA. Conjugation with methyl groups. The methyl cannot directly enter into a conjugation reaction. It has to get converted to its active form, that is S-adenosyl methionine. In any other reactions where methyl is required as a donor, then methyl donation has to be required as adenosyl methionine acts as a methyl donor. If any methylation reactions has to happen, as adenosyl methionine acts as a methyl donor. The enzyme that is involved in this reaction is O-methyl transferase. The groups that are methylated are amino groups, hydroxy groups, and thiol groups. Now, if we consider a group like this is a xenobiotics having any of these three groups. This will react with S-adenosyl methionine to form S-adenosyl homocysteine, and then the xenobiotic is getting conjugated. Now, S-adenosyl homocysteine that is formed, we already have seen in the metabolism of methionine. This loses, first it loses its adenosyl group to form homocysteine. Now, homocysteine takes a methyl group from methylcobalamin and methionine is formed. Once again, the methionine will form S-adenosyl methionine. In that way, the cycle will go on. So, the methyl group is donated by S-adenosyl methionine. The conjugation process is catalyzed by enzyme O-methyl transferase, and in this way, the xenobiotic methyl group is formed. Now, so this completes all the conjugating agents that help in conjugation process, that is phase 2 of metabolism. Now we'll take an example of a drug that enters into the liver, that undergoes phase 1 and phase 2 of metabolism, and finally becomes a completely intoxic product that can be easily eliminated in urine. The common is the aspirin. We have taken up the drug because aspirin is more commonly used. It is commonly used as an analgesic. Now, this aspirin undergoes hydrolysis in phase 1 and forms salicylic acid. So, in hydrolysis, this acetyl group is lost and it is forming a salicylic acid. Now, this salicylic acid enters into phase 2 of metabolism, where it gets conjugated with glucuronic acid and it forms salicylate glucuronide. In that way, this xenobiotic is completely conjugated and it is in an excretable form. So this is how the combination of phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification occurs. Now, when the drugs are undergoing biotransformation. Now, in the previous class, we have seen there are various ways by which the xenobiotics enters into our body. They can come as food, can come as drug. In inhalation also, medicines constitute one of the component. Along with that, we have the food containing pesticides that are grown under inorganic fertilizers, tin containing metals. There are so many things that we consume. Now, I would specifically like to mention some of the features of biotransformation that are specifically related to the drugs. So, when drugs undergo metabolism, we look some different features. So, the xenobiotics that usually enters into our body are drugs. Now, the body has its own mechanism to detoxify the drugs by cytochrome by various drug metabolizing pathways. So, these drugs are detoxified by the enzymes that are concerned with drug metabolism, mostly cytochrome P450 monooxygenase. There are some drugs that can induce cytochrome P450 system and that may result in production of unwanted effects in some individuals. For example, induction of cytochrome P450 by barbiturates. It precipitates an attack of acute intermittent porphyria. It precipitates an attack of neurological symptoms and abdominal pain in patients who have acute intermittent porphyria. Now, how barbiturates, cytochrome P450 and acute intermittent porphyria are linked to one another. As I told you, as already given the statement that barbiturates induce cytochrome P450 synthase or cytochrome P450. So, what is the prosthetic group of cytochrome P450? It is heme. So, the requirement of heme is increased. The demand for the heme is increased. So, it results in increased activity of ALA synthase. As heme induces or increases the activity of ALA synthase, there is increased activity of ALA synthase. And that will result because ALA synthase activity is increased and there is more formation of UPG. And in the patient with acute intermittent porphyria, the administration of barbiturates will precipitate the attack. But there is one more beneficial effect of having induction of barbiturates to any enzymes. Here, if it induces cytochrome P450, that is precipitating acute intermittent porphyria. But barbiturates also induce glucuronic transferase. This is the enzyme that is required for conjugation process of glucuronic acid. This plays a very important role, or it has a beneficial effect for neonates. The unconjugated bilirubin, the hemolytical jaundice, most common cause for the jaundice in neonates. The unconjugated bilirubin is conjugated and that will treat jaundice in newborn. Next, in some cases, these xenobiotics are converted to harmful compounds by cytochrome P450 dependent oxygenases. As I already told you, detoxification means a toxic compound is converted to a non-toxic compound, whereas biotransformation means it is a system where the compound is modified. It can be modified to a lesser toxic one, or sometimes it can become much more toxic than the parent compound. That I have already mentioned as bioactivation. In the same way, sometimes the cytochrome P450 enzyme can make the drug much more harmful than what it was. For example, benzopyrene. These benzopyrenes are converted to carcinogens when they undergo epoxidation in the presence of the enzyme cytochrome P450 dependent monooxygenase. Effects on drug metabolism. Each individual have got separate specificity or separate method by which they metabolize the drugs. Effect of a particular drug may vary from person to person. The drug metabolizing enzymes show genetic variation. So, a drug is metabolized very rapidly in one individual and the metabolism occurs very slowly in one individual. So, that is also called as tolerance capacity, and usually the tolerance capacity to a particular drug is determined genetically. This may lead to an increased or decreased or absent expression of enzyme activity. Some people who can metabolize the drugs sluggishly may show toxic manifestations with normal doses of drugs also. This completes our topic on detoxification. To just recap, detoxification, we have seen xenobiotics are the foreign substances that enter into our body. And liver is the one that detoxifies our body. It does it in two phases, phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 includes oxidation, reduction and hydrolysis, of which oxidation is more common. In oxidation, the drugs are usually detoxified by that method, and cytochrome P450 dependent monooxygenase is the one that metabolizes most of the drugs. Next is phase 2. The phase 2 is nothing but conjugation. Simply we have up to 8 conjugating substances that conjugate the products that are obtained from the phase 1. Because in phase 1, the xenobiotics get attached to some reactive groups like OH group, SH group, NH group, like that. So these reactive groups have to be removed, and this has to be removed. That is done by conjugation. So we have up to 8 conjugating agents that conjugate the reactions. So we have seen the conjugation. Now we have seen a special note or special mention on drug metabolism, which induce the reaction. Sometimes the induction is dangerous. In some cases, the induction is used to treat some disease. So this completes our process of detoxification. So you also detoxify yourself. Have plenty of water, plenty of fruits, fresh fruits and vegetables. Stay at home, stay safe. Thank you.